All right, let's talk about a bird. But this isn't just any bird with a cool-looking crown of feathers. Now, we're talking about the hudhud. This creature is a legend, woven right into the fabric of mythology, religion, and culture all across the Middle East.
Sounds kind of like a fantasy movie plot, right? A single bird changing the fate of a kingdom. But for this one particular bird, that wasn't just some wild idea. It was basically its destiny. And you know, this very question is the key to understanding how the hudhud became such an incredible icon.
So, let's get into it. Who is this amazing creature? Well, in English, you'd probably call it the hoopoe, but in folklore, it's so much more than just an animal. It's seen as this incredibly smart, super important character. I mean, we're talking about a messenger trusted by kings. And its fame isn't just in one place. It's totally international. I mean, you can call it the hoopoe, the hudhud, the ibibik, or the head. It doesn't matter. The story is what resonates, and it resonates across so many different languages and cultures. That just goes to show you how massive its legend really is.
Okay, so where does all this fame come from? The real core of the legend, the story that built everything, comes from a single, really dramatic tale in the Quran. And it involves some major players. We're talking the Prophet Solomon and the legendary Queen of Sheba.
And the story kicks off with some serious drama right from the get-go. Picture this. Solomon is doing a head count of all his birds, and he realizes the hudhud is just gone, missing. And Solomon's reaction? It's intense. He basically says the bird is facing a death sentence unless it comes back with a really, really good excuse for going AWOL.
And wow, does the hudhud deliver an excuse? It turns out to be absolutely history-changing. The bird doesn't just show up with some flimsy story. Nope, it comes back with incredible intelligence. It had discovered the land of Sheba, a whole kingdom ruled by a super wealthy queen where everyone worshipped the sun. Solomon, seeing this huge opportunity, uses the hudhud as his personal messenger. He sends a letter that gets the queen to come for a visit, and that one little trip sets off this huge chain reaction that ends with her and all her people turning away from sun worship. So you see, the hudhud wasn't just playing hooky, it was being an agent of massive, world-altering change.
But here's the thing, that story with Solomon, as epic as it is, it didn't just pop up out of nowhere. The respect, the reverence for this bird was already super old. We're talking roots that go way, way back into ancient times. Take ancient Egypt, for example. Lineage was everything, right? Well, the hoopoe was a symbol of succession, a kind of secret code that said, this child is the true heir. Then you've got Iranian mythology, which has a totally different, more personal story. Its unique crest, that's said to come from a woman who was transformed into a bird, and her comb became its crest forever. So these ancient beliefs, they show us that this bird was already packed with meaning long before its most famous story ever came along.
So, you've got these ancient roots, right? And then you add this legendary story about serving King Solomon. Well, that's when the hudhud's reputation really started to grow and evolve. It pretty much cemented its status as a symbol of deep, profound wisdom. Yeah, it wasn't just a mail carrier anymore, not by a long shot. The hudhud started to represent something much, much deeper. It became a guide, one that could uncover hidden truths. Think about it. Its loyalty, its courage, its sheer intelligence in that story with Solomon, all of that transformed it into this powerful symbol of wisdom that has lasted for centuries.
And the legend just kept on growing. In later Islamic traditions, people believed the hudhud could actually find underground water, like a natural dowsing rod. I mean, imagine how critical that would be in the desert. It's practically a divine power. Then in Persian poetry, it gets honored as the wise king of birds. And in Turkish tradition, it's known as the sacred Sulaiman, or Solomon's bird. They even thought it could bring you meaningful dreams. It just kept getting more and more mythic.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, the entire journey of this bird, from an ancient symbol to a key character in a holy book, you start to see something really amazing. It's a powerful lesson about the nature of storytelling itself.
I mean, think about it. A simple bird, with a cool little crown of feathers, was lifted up to become this timeless symbol of wisdom, of guidance, of truth. And why? All because of one single unforgettable story. It's just a mind-blowing example of how a really powerful narrative can give something meaning and create a legend that lasts for thousands of years. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. The story of the hudhud, it was just found in the world, in a bird that people saw every day. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other everyday creatures or things around us have these epic stories that we've just forgotten how to tell? What other legends are just hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to notice?
Have you ever stopped to think that maybe an animal could be more than just, a pet or a farm animal? Well, in a lot of prophetic traditions, they're seen as so much more. They can be messengers, guides, and sometimes even instruments of the divine. So today, we're going to dive into some of these incredible stories and see what they tell us about that deep, deep connection between people, nature, and faith.
So let's just jump right in with the big question. Can an animal actually be a sacred guide? I mean, look, a lot of us have really powerful bonds with our pets, right? But these traditions, they take that connection to a whole new level. Seeing animals as these living symbols, as faithful companions, and yeah, even as expressions of a divine plan.
For this explainer, we're going to focus in on some amazing stories from the life of the Prophet Muhammad. And we're not just going to list off some old tales. No, we're going to dig in and really try to uncover the deep symbolism and the powerful lessons that these animals can teach us.
Okay, our first story is about a truly remarkable animal, the Prophet's loyal camel, Al-Qaswa. And let me tell you, this was not just any camel. Al-Qaswa had a major part to play in one of the most pivotal moments in Islamic history. She was a real key player.
Right at the heart of this story is this incredible statement. She is commanded by God, leave her, for she knows her way. Just think about that for a second. This isn't just about, let the animal do its thing. This elevates Al-Qaswa from just a camel into a direct agent of divine will. It's like saying she's on a mission from God. Get out of her way.
So, how did this whole thing actually play out? Well, picture this. The Prophet arrives in the city of Medina, and everybody wants the honor of hosting him. It's a huge deal. So instead of him choosing and maybe causing some hurt feelings, he puts his trust in Al-Qaswa. He just lets her wander freely and says, wherever she stops, that's where I'll stay. And sure enough, she walks through the city and finally kneels down at one specific spot. And that spot, that became the site for the very first mosque. The camel's instinct was seen as a direct sign from God. Amazing, right?
All right, so we've gone from that huge public moment of divine guidance, and now we're going to zoom all the way into a much more intimate, personal story. This one is about Muezza, the Prophet's beloved cat, and it's just a beautiful lesson in simple, everyday compassion. Even the name itself, Muezza, tells you something really important. It's believed to mean the cherished one. So right off the bat, this relationship isn't just about an owner and a pet. It's one that's built on real affection, real value.
And the story is just so beautifully simple. Musa was asleep, curled up on the sleeve of the prophet's robe. Now, instead of just shooing the cat away, he quietly took out a knife and cut the sleeve right off his garment so he wouldn't disturb her. It's such a small, quiet act, but wow, what a profound lesson, right? It shows that the comfort of even the smallest creature can be more important than our own stuff, our own convenience. Okay, so we've had animals as companions, as divinely inspired guides, but the tradition also looks at animals as powerful symbols. And this is especially true when you start looking at the role of birds. Yeah, in these traditions, birds are pretty much never just birds. They often show up as signs of divine protection or as little messengers carrying hope and good news. Sometimes they're just there to remind us of the incredible artistry woven all through the natural world. And on a deeper level, they can even symbolize the spiritual journey of the human soul itself. So, what's the big takeaway here? What do all these stories, the camel, the cat, the birds, what do they all add up to? Well, they're not just charming little anecdotes. They actually form the foundation for a really clear set of ethical principles about how we should treat the entire animal kingdom. And this brings us to a really crucial distinction. These stories point us toward an ethic of human stewardship, not just human dominion. And that is a fundamental shift in perspective. It's the difference between seeing animals as resources that are just here for us to use, and seeing them as communities, as fellow inhabitants of this world that we have a sacred duty to care for and protect. So why does all of this matter? Well, because it lays out a really clear ethical roadmap for us. Kindness isn't just a nice to have, it's a fundamental virtue. The natural world isn't just a bunch of resources, it's a sacred trust. And animals, as we've seen, they can be our teachers, our guides, pointing us towards something greater than ourselves. So let's just end on this thought. How do the stories we choose to tell about animals, these stories of guidance, of compassion, of deep symbolism, how do they ultimately define what it means for us to be human? Because in these traditions, it seems like our capacity for kindness towards the smallest of creatures is really just a mirror, reflecting the true nature of our own spirit. Okay, have you ever heard of a bird that could literally change the course of kingdoms? We're not talking about a fantasy novel. Today, we're diving into the story of the Hudhud. You might know it as the Hoopoe. This isn't just any bird. In Middle Eastern culture, it's a legend, a messenger to kings, a symbol of wisdom, and the hero of some pretty epic tales. So let's just set the scene. Imagine you're King Solomon. You're not just any ruler. You're so powerful that you command armies of men, sure, but also legions of spirits and entire flocks of birds. You're doing a roll call of your forces, and wait a minute, your most trusted messenger is missing, just gone. This is the exact moment we're dropped into in the Quran, and right away you can feel the tension. So yeah, our story kicks off with a missing bird. And look, this is way more than just a lost pet. We're talking about a matter of state here. The Hudhud being gone, well, that could have some serious, dire consequences for Solomon's entire kingdom. And you've really got to understand the gravity here. Solomon's threat? It was no joke. The Hudhud wasn't just some pretty bird. It was a key member of his court. It was his scout, a crucial link in his whole communication network. For it to just disappear without permission, that was basically an act of defiance. And the king? Oh, he was absolutely prepared to make an example of it. But then, right when the king's anger is about to boil over, the Hudhud just reappears. And it doesn't come back with its head down offering some meek apology. Oh no, it comes back with news. News so incredible, it's about to change the fate of 2 entire kingdoms forever. And the confidence on this bird is just wow. It flies right up to the wisest king on earth and basically says, I've discovered something you haven't.
I mean, talk about bold. With those words, the Hudhud reveals it wasn't just slacking off, it was on a secret recon mission, bringing back intel from a land even Solomon didn't know existed.
So what was this incredible discovery? None other than the legendary Queen of Sheba. The Hudhud lays it all out, her incredible wealth, her magnificent throne, her power, and, this is the key detail for Solomon, the fact that she and her people were worshipping the sun. So this wasn't just a simple scouting report, this was a direct spiritual challenge.
And just like that, the Hudhud's discovery kicks off this amazing chain reaction. Suddenly, this little bird is a diplomatic courier, carrying a letter from Solomon to the queen. This one act leads to a test of wits, a massive state visit, and eventually the Queen of Sheba converting and making an alliance with Solomon. And it all started because one small bird was brave enough to go exploring. It's an absolutely incredible story, right? But it does make you wonder, why the hoopoe? Of all the birds in the world, why this one? Was it just a random choice? Well, not even close. Turns out, this particular bird already had a ton of cultural and symbolic meaning way before this story ever came along.
I mean, the hoopoe's importance goes way, way back. If you look at ancient Egypt, it was actually a powerful symbol of succession. It represented the heir to the throne. Kind of the perfect choice for a king's messenger, don't you think? And even before that, in Minoan Crete, it had this special symbolic status. So you see, this bird was already wrapped up in ideas of royalty and legacy.
And then there's Iranian mythology, which has this beautiful kind of tragic story to explain that distinctive crest on its head. The legend goes that a woman was so embarrassed when her father-in-law saw her combing her hair that she transformed into a bird and flew away, with the combs still stuck in her hair, which became her crown. And that's where its Persian name, Shani Sar, comes from, literally linking its look to this ancient story. But believe it or not, the whole incredible story with Solomon and Sheba, that was really just the beginning for the Hudhud's legacy. Its fame just exploded from there, and it evolved from being this loyal messenger into a much deeper symbol of wisdom, of guidance, and leadership all across the Middle East. And it's fascinating to see how different cultures interpreted the Hudhud. In the Quranic story, the big takeaway is its dutiful nature. But then you look at Persian literature, which is all about poetic wisdom, and suddenly it's elevated to the king of birds. Then, over in Turkish folklore, where loyalty is everything, it becomes this sacred bird known for its incredible faithfulness. It's like each culture saw a reflection of its own values in this one bird. And maybe its most famous role, outside of the story of Solomon, comes from this epic 12th century Persian poem called The Conference of the Birds. It's this deep spiritual allegory, and in it, the Hudhud isn't just another character, it's the leader. It's the wise guide who gets all the other birds fired up to go on this dangerous quest to find their one true king. And the legend just kept growing. People started attributing all these new skills to the Hudhud. It wasn't just a messenger anymore. Now it was an expert spy, a dowser who could magically find underground water in the desert, and even a mystical guide that could bring you meaningful dreams. It became this incredible, multi-talented symbol of so much more.
So all of this brings us to the lasting legacy of this little bird with its funky crest. Its whole journey through myths and stories really shows you how a single powerful tale can create a symbol that just keeps resonating for thousands of years.
When you boil it all down, the Hudhud is so much more than a loyal messenger. It really stands for the power of communication, the thrill of discovery, and maybe most importantly, the incredible courage it takes to speak truth to power, even if you're just a small bird talking to the mightiest king in the world. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? In our own world, where we're just flooded with information 24/7, what can this ancient story teach us about the real power of a single,
truthful message delivered at just the right time. It's a thought that has echoed through the ages, and it's a powerful reminder that sometimes one voice is all it takes to change everything.